Okay, this is some two-voice practice. This is the 100, 120 class. We're going to do this in 120s. So we're going to begin with a question for the record. Good afternoon, Mrs. Harrington. My name is Attorney Donald Graff, and I represent Adele Greslick in a lawsuit that you and your husband have brought against her regarding an accident that took place on June 17, 2007. Could you please state and spell your whole name for the record?
Carmenharrington.
How do you say your last name?
Harrington.
Mrs. Harrington, the court reporter just gave you an oath. Do you understand you're under an obligation to tell the truth as if you were testifying to a jury?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been involved in any other lawsuits?
No.
Now, I am just going to give you a couple of instructions. You've got to let me ask the question, ask the whole question before you give an answer, even if you may know what I am going to ask you, so that the record can be clear. You also have to give an out loud verbal answer. The court reporter can't record the head nods, the head shakes, or the uh-huh or uh-uh, okay?
Okay.
If at any time you don't understand the question that I am asking you, let me know, and I will rephrase the question in a way that you can understand it, okay?
All right.
If you answer the question, I will assume that you understood the question the way that I've asked it, okay?
Okay.
But I am not trying to confuse you, trick you, or anything like that. I am just trying to get the answers. So if I am kind of bad with dates, so if I misstate a date or a time, just feel free to correct me, and feel free, if you remember something about your testimony, to go back and correct yourself, okay?
All right.
All right. How old are you today, Mrs. Harrington?
68.
The accident happened in 2007, which was 2 years ago. You would have been approximately about 66 or 65 or 67, something like that, right?
Yes, 66.
Were you born in Wyoming?
No.
Where were you born at?
Phoenix, Arizona.
What is your current address?
1014 South 150 West, Kensington, Wyoming.
That was your address at the time of the June 2007 accident?
Yes.
You were living with Mr. Harrington, Franklin Harrington?
Yes.
You own that particular piece of property?
Yes.
Is that a ranch-style home or a bi-level?
Ranch.
Okay. Do you own any other residences?
No.
No summer home in Florida or anything like that?
No.
How long have you and Mr. Harrington been married?
42 years.
Do you have any children together?
Yes.
How many and their ages and names?
I have to ask this. Do you want this because my daughter, he adopted my daughter?
That's fine.
Okay, my daughter Lucille is 49. How do you spell Lucille? Lucil, and my son Bob Robert is 36, and my son James is 35.
Is that all the children that you have?
Yes,
Were any of them living with you at the time of the June 2007 accident?
no,
Do you have any grandchildren?
yes,
How many?
I have 3 grandchildren.
Do they all live in Wyoming?
No,
Do you or your husband have any military service?
my husband,
Do you have any military service?
no,
What branch of the military does your husband have?
Air Force,
Now, I am going to ask you this. Some people do different things, like me and my husband. We both do the bills at the house. Are you the record keeper of the home, or is your husband the record keeper?
both,
Both, okay. Did he pretty much keep up with his own medical treatment, or did you pretty much arrange the appointments?
he does.
Okay, that way I will know who to ask what. Did you graduate from high school?
Yes,
Where did you graduate from?
Reno, Nevada.
How did you end up in Wyoming?
I married him.
He was living in Wyoming.
No, he was in the military service.
Okay, and he was originally from Wyoming.
Yes,
How did you guys end up in Wyoming?
this is where we chose to make our home.
He is originally from Wyoming.
Yes,
What part of Wyoming was he originally from?
Lamont.
Are you employed?
No, I am retired.
What are you retired from doing?
I am retired from the Valparaiso High School. I was the head baker for 22 years.
How long have you been married?
4 years.
Now, I am going to ask you about the date of the accident, which was the police reports say that the accident was June 16th, 2007, which was a Saturday around 2:39 p.m. Does that sound correct to you?
Yes,
Prior to getting on the road that day and time, had you had anything to drink, legal or illegal? Well, there is only legal drinks, but did you have anything to drink or any type of drugs or medication, legal or otherwise, illegal or otherwise, that would have had an impact on your driving?
no,
Do you take prescribed medications?
yes,
Would any of that have any effect on your driving?
no,
You were driving the vehicle that day.
yes.
Where were you going to?
We were going to my niece's open house.
Where is that located?
Portage,
Where did you leave from?
from our home,
What did you do earlier that day?
cleaned around the house.
What time did you have to be at the open house?
About 3.
Were you running late at all?
No,
I see you're wearing glasses today. Did you have your glasses on?
yes,
Most people who use their glasses a lot put them on when they get up in the morning, take them off when they go to bed.
right,
Is that your practice?
yes.
All right, this is some more 122 voice practice. Beginning with a question for the record. Good afternoon, Ms. Brown.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gillen.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you a few questions about your testimony here in court today. Towards the closing portion of your testimony, you testified that 2 members of the board had asked you if you were born again. Is that correct?
Actually, there were 3, but 2 within the last year I served on the board.
Who were they?
The 2 who asked me within the last year of my tenure, Mr. William Buckner and Mrs. Jane Cleaver.
And those are the 2 you referenced in your departing speech from the board, correct?
Yes, they were.
I want to ask you a few questions about that. You testified today that the people on the board were your friends, correct?
They had been my friends.
Okay, now the conversation with Jane Cleaver, isn't it true that that took place in her home?
Yes, it did, sir.
And you had come over to her house to speak with her because she was a new board member, correct?
Yes.
You invited the conversation, didn't you, Mrs. Brown?
I most certainly did. I so indicated in my deposition, sir.
That's right. That's right. And I want to place that statement in context today. In fact, you went to her home and you saw a beautiful carving of the Lord's Supper, correct?
The Lord's Last Supper, yes, sir.
You began to talk to Mrs. Cleaver about religion, didn't you?
No, I did not speak to her directly about religion. What I spoke to her about was my liking for the carving. I had never seen such a beautiful carving, and I did make reference to the fact it was of the Lord's Last Supper, and the conversation segued from there.
You concede that conversation about the art is not about a religious object?
It most certainly is within that context.
Okay, and it was in that context that Mrs. Cleaver discussed her religious convictions, correct?
Yes, it began with her discussion of a trip, I believe, that she and her late husband had made to the Holy Land, sir.
And it was during that discussion of her religious convictions that she asked you?
Yes, she did, sir.
So your friend asked you about your religious convictions in her home, correct?
Yes, she did, sir.
And that conversation was not for business, correct?
Yes, it was, in one sense, sir.
Mrs. Brown, I'm giving you a copy of your deposition.
Oh, thank you. I can read it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the full pages, and I truly regret any inconvenience.
That's all right.
If I could have, I would have adjusted.
What did you wish me to look at, sir?
I would ask you to look at your deposition testimony, Mrs. Brown.
What portion of the page, sir?
I would ask you to begin looking at the page on line 13. I will read the question that I asked you during your deposition. Let me see if you have this discussion with Mrs. Cleaver and you say it was kind of just an exchange between the 2 of you. And would you read your answer, Mrs. Brown?
I said beyond the school board business, yes.
So the discussion was beyond the school board business, correct, Mrs. Brown?
Yes, but it was within the framework of school board business that I was at her home, sir.
But you told me that it was beyond the school board business, correct?
It was beyond the scope of what I was there for. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you've also testified that Mr. Buckner once asked you if you were born again, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to place that comment in context as well. Now, you said Mr. Buckner was your friend today in court. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
I would ask you to turn to of your deposition, Mrs. Brown, and if you would, just don't worry. If you would, just take a moment and look over from pages 87 through 88.
Yes, we were referencing a policy committee meeting.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mrs. Brown, in your deposition, you testified that you did have a discussion with Mr. Buckner on one occasion where he was kind enough to offer you a ride home from the school board meeting, correct?
From the policy committee meeting. He was a member of the policy committee, sir.
Okay. And while he's giving you a ride home, he did ask you about your religious convictions, correct?
Yes, he did.
And that is the occasion in which Mr. Buckner asked you if you had been born again, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So Mr. Buckner, who you've testified is your friend, is kind enough to drive you home from a board meeting. You're having some discussions about the current state of culture and morality.
Yes, sir.
And he asked you about your religious convictions, correct, Mrs. Brown?
That is correct, sir.
So on the day that you resigned from the board and you read your speech and you said two people asked you if you were born again,
Yes.
and you thought that was inappropriate, correct?
Yes, I did, and I still do, sir.
You think it's inappropriate for a friend to ask you about your religion?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You don't ask anyone about religion.
No, I do not, sir.
Is religion something that shouldn't be discussed at all?
I would not presume to discuss religion under normal circumstances except within my own family, sir.
Did you ever tell Mrs. Cleaver that you were offended?
No, I did not, sir.
Did you ever tell Mr. Buckner that you were offended by his question to you while he was taking you home?
I did say to him, I don't think we should be discussing this, but no, sir, I did not tell him I was offended.
Mrs. Brown, I believe you testified that you came on the board and you were elected president, correct?
That was during my third term. Yes, beginning.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was the beginning of my third term. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I believe you said subsequently, Mr. Jones became president, correct?
Yes, 2 years later, sir.
Then you were nominated for vice president, correct?
Yes, I was.
But you were not elected?
No, I was not.
Okay, this will be some two-voice practice at 130 words per minute for the record. Would you be able to identify the female that was sitting in that car?
Yes, I seen her when she came into the store, and I said, I assume she is the one. I assume that's the one that came and said that her boyfriend was shot.
We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and that's fine. You said something about the car earlier, it being parked in a handicapped spot, and you wondering about that, or you were upset about it or something because it was parked in a handicapped spot. Did you see any insignia on the vehicle that indicated
No, I did not.
it was a handicapped vehicle, either in the rear view mirror or on the license plate?
No, the only reason I noticed it had Illinois plates is, Illinois has the front and back license plates on it. That's the only reason I knew it was Illinois. And there was no handicap insignia on the plate.
And it was backed in, so you would have seen as you pulled in, you saw the front of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
After seeing those guys run by and in front of your car, you don't recall seeing either one of them again at any point?
No, I don't.
And what happened next?
Well, I went into the store and I was going to ask Muhammad to call the police because I assumed something had happened, but I didn't know what. He was busy with customers, and I work in a grocery store too. And I didn't want to panic anybody, so I went and got my stuff, came up to the front, and the girl came in and she said that her boyfriend had been shot. Then I did the stupid thing and went into the alley.
Why do you say that was a stupid thing?
It didn't hit me what I had done until the police come up and pulled the gun. I didn't think about it. It happened. I was going out to see if there was anything I could do to help. And then the policeman comes into the alley and pulls his gun, and I didn't think about that.
You said the police officer pulled the gun, I think you said?
Yeah, because he didn't know if there is anybody there that is going to fire shots back or.
Was it a service revolver?
Yeah, it was his gun.
All right.
And he had to make sure the scene was clear before he did anything, I'm sure.
Let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
You said you walked into the 7-Eleven.
Uh-huh.
And that's a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
And you mentioned somebody named Mohammed.
He works there.
Does Mohammed still work there?
Yeah, he still does.
So you have been to the 7-Eleven regularly enough that you know who the staff is?
Oh, yeah. He works well. He works midnight, and I would always go talk to him when I go into work in the morning.
You said Mohammed was busy, so you just went about your business?
I went and got my stuff, and I was going to go tell him to call the police. I wanted to wait until the customers were gone before I panicked anybody.
Sure. How long after you walked in until the girl came in to tell Mohammed to call the police?
2 to 3 minutes.
Are you sure it was that long?
Actually, I don't think it was that long, and that may be okay. I went in, I went and got milk, went and got pop, walked up to the front counter. The store is not that big. I'd say 1 to 2 minutes at least.
And had you gotten some of the groceries and things that you needed?
Yeah.
In any event, some time had passed and she came in.
Yes.
And she said that
her boyfriend had been shot. I sat my stuff down. I told Muhammad to call the police and I went outside.
Is that the same person that you saw in the car?
You know what? I can't say for sure, but she was wearing a pink jogging outfit. She had glasses and she was carrying a cell phone.
And then you went out to the alley, you said?
Uh-huh.
Did you purchase your things first, or did you?
No, I sat them down and went outside.
Did this girl go outside also to the alley?
She had to have come outside. The only reason I'm saying that, unless she waited until the police got there, I'm not really sure, because I know when they went to I'm getting ahead of myself. I know, but when they went to take him to the hospital, her and the guy there, was a guy there that was with him when I went out back, were going to the hospital with him. So I don't know.
So did you see her in the alley at some point?
Oh, yes, yes.
You can't remember if she was in front of you or behind you as you went out to the alley?
Well, she walked in front of me to go to the ambulance, I know.
I'm talking about as you're walking from the 7-Eleven out to the alley.
You know what? I don't even know how soon she came back out.
When you first got into the alley, well, strike that. I'm going to back up a little bit.
Okay.
I would like for you to mark in green on the diagram of this building as to where the front doors to the buildings are.
Okay. About right here, it is double doors.
So did you then walk out of the double doors and around to the back
Yes.
of the 7-Eleven?
Yes, I did.
As you were walking along the north side of the building, did you see anything of?
Actually, I didn't see anybody.
And then you emerged from the north side onto the east side of the building. Is that correct?
Yes, but it seems to me the car was parked further to the street.
You're talking about a car that's depicted on this diagram here?
Yes.